So how's practice today, Coach?
It was good. Chance to get better today, and kids have been working hard, grinding through it, and I think that a sense of the burning desire to get better, and the chemistry seems to be coming together. But long way to go, but they're working hard, and I'm pleased with that.
Do you feel like you're settling into sort of your rotation ideas at this point, guys?
I wouldn't say settling in. I said getting some. Every day is a new opportunity for everybody. So we've got a lot of doors that are wide open right now. So we're just going to let it play out and see what happens at a lot of places.
We've heard a couple of names, like AJ, Brandt. Are there any other guys that are maybe starting to get your attention a little bit?
All of them have my attention. Every day, all of them have my attention. But as far as establishing themselves, it's a big melting pot right now. You got guys like Pat Gamble that's established himself. Keyshawn has established himself, and but at the same time, there's competition at those positions, so that helps everybody. And the culture and the environment of competition just pushes everybody, and need to continue to do that.
Brentavious is the new kid on the block in terms of playing with the varsity.
Yeah.
How's he making out?
He's improving. He'll flash, which is the typical for a young guy with talent. He'll flash, and then he'll make a couple mistakes. Then he'll do a couple things right again. So just the inconsistency of being a young player, but he's working at it, and it's important to him. And we're going to need him.
What about Henri? How's he coming along? He was a guy who showed some real signs of.
Yeah, he did, and he's come along well. Certainly not where we want him to be and not where he wants to be, but at the same time is making progress. And he's a great kid, and he's going to be a really good player for us.
Coach, we've heard a conversation about chemistry and leadership and so forth. Is it possible for coaches to force leadership roles upon players?
I think what it is, I think that as coaches you teach leadership, and then you help develop leaders, and then I think you put them in position to lead. But sometimes if the guys that the coaches select or identify as leaders aren't the same ones as the players see as leaders, there can be a disconnect there. So that's kind of a slippery slope, but it's one that's obviously critical, because leadership is critical to success in any organization, and certainly football is no different. So, but as far as nudging guys, yeah, I think you can nudge them. I think if you shove them out there and they're not ready, you set them up for failure. So there's a fine line between giving guys opportunities to do that, and then, okay, here's what you had. Here's how what would you do next time? Here's what we can do different. As opposed to just shoving guys out there that aren't ready, that maybe their teammates don't see as leaders.
What about a guy like Corey, who's a guy who played a lot of winning football teams and kind of seems to have some of those qualities you look for? Is he a guy that you expect to kind of take into that leadership position this year?
Yeah, he's a guy that cares a tremendous amount. The team knows he cares a tremendous amount, and I think that he's earned respect. Certainly, has got to get a lot better and improve a lot, and a long ways to go. But he's a guy that's taken some strides in that respect. Yeah.
You mentioned that you wanted to have the ability to watch more film on the linebackers because of the numbers you have there now.
Right.
What are you seeing from that position?
Some good, some bad, as you would expect me to answer.
Answer.
Yeah, no, that is shocking, isn't it? I've seen us become more physical. Got to get better with our hands, and our key system, our footwork. Got to become better blitzers, and that's a real emphasis as far as this spring to become a better blitzing outfit, and we're working at that.
Are there one or two guys at that aspect of blitzing that seem to just kind of have a knack for that?
PJ's gotten better at it. So much of it is time and the speed of it, the violence of it. But as far as a guy standing out, nobody's really as far as that goes.
Ted, would it be fair to say, with regard to leadership among the player ranks, that the best possible situation is for leaders to emerge organically, just kind of grow up into the role as opposed to being nudged? Or
I didn't really follow where you're going with the organic leadership thing for a second.
is it best for a player or players to grow into their leadership role without any pushing from the coaches that they're so good, they're so obvious, they got so many leadership
Yeah,
characteristics.
some, and there's some that come here and they're ready to do that, whether it's within their own position group or within their own class. Some guys are further ahead along than others, but yeah, as far as, you know, they're all at different places, whether it's leadership ability, change of direction, 40, they're all at different spots in that when they get here. And certainly that's one of the things that you look for in recruiting as far as getting to know kids, because if you want a player-driven team, recruit good, strong leaders from their high school team. So that's something that we really look at. But I think it's a combination. I don't think there's any like one thing where you can say, hey, it's only grown or it's only pushed or nudged or developed. I think it's a combination of a bunch of things that determine the leadership. And like I said, when we have a player-led team, that's the best kind of locker room to be in.
I was going to say, it's a player-led team, the best kind of team.
Yes, but if you don't have a player-led team as a coach, you got to do that. So you have to evaluate that as a staff and as a coach, what's going on in your room, what's going on with your unit, or whatever. So, but yeah, in the end, when the best teams that I've been around have policed themselves.
The only good thing I learned, Ken was with me in 3 years covering Jim Moore when he covered the Falcons, was he told me in a couple of private conversations the most important thing on a team was peer-to-peer accountability, players who hold each other accountable.
Correct.
He said, as coaches, you can say whatever you want to say. You can just talk and talk and talk and talk, but if they're not holding each other accountable, your chances of being successful are not very good. And and that's basically a chemistry question. Is chemistry, peer-to-peer accountability, whatever you want to call it, as important or more important than the actual talent that's in the cupboard?
I
pretty
think
important.
I think that when you have what you're talking about, if you have pretty good talent, you're tough to beat. If you have great talent, you're almost impossible to beat. If you have it, you know, if you have the other way, if you have talent without that, you call those teams underachievers.
Was this team 2 years ago blessed with chemistry and leadership?
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, that was the strongest thing that we had. We had good players, but we had a great locker room, and it was player-to-player accountability. And anytime you have that, where a guy feels like I can't let the guy next to me down, that's the most powerful type of pressure that there is.
Can you talk about what it's like being on the other side of the recruiting coin now, as a dad instead of a recruiter? Well, so you are doing some recruiting as well, but just as a dad, kind of what is it like?
It's interesting.
A lot different than when you went through it.
A lot different than when I went through it. When I went through it, you picked up the newspaper on signing day and you were being told they were going to sign 2 linebackers and they signed 6 and you didn't know any better. You wondered who was in your class when you picked up the paper on signing day. And you really didn't care because you were just, in as far as like some of these kids with the jersey numbers, you were just happy to get a jersey. So it was, times have certainly changed, but as a father, going through the recruiting process with both my sons, it's interesting, both internally and externally in my house, yes.
I imagine you may have to do some summer touring as well with your boys to take them to some places to check things out.
Yeah, we're gonna narrow that down this summer and look around and see what they like, expose them to some things, and let them go through the process.
I imagine that's got to be kind of interesting to see how they're going to go through all of this and what your opinions are versus what they want to do.
Yeah, I guess like most fathers of 17-year-old boys, sometimes our opinions are different than the opinions of our sons. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
How would you evaluate how the pass rush has come along too?
I see improved activity with our hands, but it's every day, man. Just making a step every day, having a burning desire to improve every day, and I think we've made progress. Not enough, but we've made progress on it, and I expect us to be better than we were last year.
Coach, I've been out of town for the last week, so maybe this conversation topic has come up, but you look like you're re-engineering yourself to move back into the secondary. You look leaner than I remember you. What's going on?
Thank you. I've just been working at it.
You want to play safety?
No, Nope, my days of lining up between the white lines are over. I don't think I could play
We'll
anymore.
ask you a question that we ask the players. Is it a diet thing? Is it an exercise thing?
It's a combination of it. Just trying to take better care of yourself as the years click on.
Anything happen?